What's going on, guys? Back with another video. This is Matt Day, BizCentral USA COO. Today we're going to be talking about the MBE versus NMSDC certifications. Both of these are minority-owned certifications, but there's a couple of differences between the two in terms of how they're offered, what types of contract opportunities you get, and qualifications. So just wanted to make a real quick video for everyone because this is a question that we get a lot for our business and potential clients. So yeah, let's kind of get right into it. First, the Minority Business Enterprise is what MBE stands for. These can be offered at the state, city, and county levels, depending. It's also possible that your state may not have this program in particular. Sometimes they'll run under what's called the DBE, the Disadvantaged Enterprise, and it'll be offered by the Department of Transportation, and you'll simply select that you want to be considered for the MBE in addition to the DBE you're applying for. Sometimes states will have their own programs for the specific state. You know, an example being the state of Virginia has SWAM, small women and minority-owned businesses, as its MBE program. And then you'll have other states like North Carolina who don't have MBE programs or distinctions at all. They just have the DBE and SBE. So lots of variability from state to state. So it's important that you guys do your research and make sure that there actually is an MBE offered in your state, because not every state is going to have an MBE specific program. Assuming that you do have an MBE program, qualifications, you have to be a United States citizen. We get questions about green card holders. Unfortunately, the MBE doesn't apply for green card holders. It's only for United States citizens. If you are a green card holder, you'll be able to get what's called the DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and we have a video for that for you, but not for the MBE. Businesses have to be at least 51% owned and operated by a minority owner, whether that's specific responsibilities. In the application, they'll ask about 9 to 13 specific responsibilities, and it needs to be proven and documented that this minority owner is able to perform and does perform 51% of those responsibilities. And then what is considered to be a minority ethnicity? Well, it's anyone who is at least 25% Asian Indian, Asian Pacific, Black, Hispanic, or Native American. Those are the ethnicities that the MBE programs have agreed to be considered quote-unquote minority. That's not a BizCentral USA distinction, that's just how the programs are structured. Thirdly, the business must be a for-profit enterprise. No nonprofits can get certified for MBEs or any certifications for that matter. And then you have to have full-time involvement from business owners. With regards to that, a lot of people ask us do I have to be working 40 hours a week for my enterprise to be considered full-time involvement? We make the recommendation that, of course, if you're claiming 51% operation and ownership of a business, you should be working at least somewhere between, at the very least, 30 to 25, hours, per week for your business. But it's also possible that your business just hasn't taken off yet. So what's important is that you put an accurate depiction of what's actually going on. And I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to have 40 hours every single week logged for a payroll, but if you're going to claim 51% ownership, make sure you're reporting an hour that actually depicts the amount of time it takes to do the responsibilities that you say you're doing. Finally, these can be offered at the state, city, and county levels. A good example of that would be Florida. You can have an MBE for the state of Florida. You can have an MBE for the city of Orlando, and you can have an MBE for the county, Orange County, which is where Orlando is located. So if you're ever in doubt, if you're in one of those states where you have it offered at the state, city, and county levels, make sure you call them directly and say, hey, this is where my business is registered. Do I need to go through the county, through the state, or the city? Because we don't want to waste any time. We want to make sure that we're getting the best certification possible. For those of you who don't have city and county specific programs, you won't need to worry about it. Okay, so we talked about MBE. This is the National Minority Supplier Diversity Council, the NMSDC. Very, very similar qualifications, and you can actually think of the NMSDC as a national MBE. What changes is not necessarily the qualifications. As you can see, they're the exact same qualifications for the MBE. But what changes is who you apply to and the type of contracts you get access to as a result of your approval. So here we see the U.S. citizenship, 51% owned and operated by a minority owner, The business, again, has to be for profit and full-time involvement from the business owners. Same qualifications as the MBE. But one thing that changes is that not every state, like we said, has an MBE in the previous slide, right? But every single region or state has a region that it can report to apply for the NMSDC. For example, there may not be an MBE specifically for North Carolina at the state level, but there is what's called a regional affiliate for the Carolinas and Virginia, where all businesses that want to go for their NMSDC apply to the regional affiliate. For South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, they all apply to the same beacon. That's an extension of the NMSDC. Another example is in the previous slide, we talked about the MBE for Orlando, for Florida, and Orange County, all being possibilities. There's a Florida MSDC, which is a regional affiliate for all businesses in Florida, regardless of Tampa, Miami, Orlando. They're all going to apply to the Florida MSDC. So pros and cons, really it just comes down to giving businesses an opportunity, maybe for businesses or states that don't have MBE programs specifically, it gives them a chance to actually apply for something that warrants minority-owned business status. Okay, so how do I decide between the two, right? These are going to differ in their geographic reach. There's a desired clientele, their application fees, processing rates, service codes are better for certain types. So let's go over that now. You got to identify your clientele before anything, right? And if you want to work with local and state versus federal government versus corporations, one certification is going to make sense for each one of those, right? For anything local and state related, maybe I want to work with the Chamber of Commerce, or maybe there's a specific business entity that has explicitly asked you to be MBE certified in that state, then you're going to get the MBE. If you're kind of interested in working with federal government entities, Department of Transportation, infrastructure, anything in the realm of construction, architecture, surveying, engineering, that kinds of field, you want to go for your DBE, your disadvantaged business enterprise, which is not covered in this video, but we have another resource for you on our channel. And if you want to get in with corporations in the private sector, you want to get your NMSDC. So another way that you can look about it is assessing your geographic reach and your ability to deliver the services. So MBE is good for economizing close to home. If I'm in Orlando, Florida, and I want to improve my network and my contacts for the services I provide, it makes a lot of sense starting out to economize with the city of Orlando MBE, right? Federal government would be more of my boom or bust potential for, that's really going to be more mainly for construction and infrastructure and engineering. So some of you, it's not even really on your radar because your service codes are just not, in that realm. Corporations and private sectors, your geographic reach needs to mirror that, right? So if I want to reach a large chain of corporations and I'm a Florida MSDC, well, there might be one in Florida, there might be one in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and surrounding states that after I complete my contract with a specific corporation, if there's a whole chain, I might have just improved my network to accepting contracts in other states as well. So not only identifying your clientele, but also what geographic reach do you want for yourself? And also, are you able to deliver to that geographic reach? I think is important. Especially if you're a distributor and manufacturer, I think NMSDC should 100% be on your radar. If you're someone who's doing specialized things, maybe a good example would be like a law firm. You may be able to reach all these states, but you might only be licensed in a couple of states. So maybe it doesn't make sense to have an NMSDC in a geographic reach of the entire country when you're only licensed to perform in one specific region, right? Medical practice would be another example of licensure. Maybe I'm only licensed to practice in the state of South Carolina. I shouldn't be reaching the entire country with my certification. Financial application and application fees is a huge one. So with the MBE, assuming that you're doing this application on your own, you're not going to have an application fee to file the application. You're just going to submit it and it'll be processed. Usually about 60 to 90 days for the MBE. The NMSDC is a corporate certification. It's a third-party entity, so they're going to charge you an application fee to process your application. That application fee is a product of your last 2 years of gross receipts. and it's a sliding scale. So someone who's just starting out might pay between $350 to $400 to have their application fee, their application processed. Whereas someone who has been around for a while and maybe is making 1.5 million plus might be in the realm of $750 to $900 in their application fee. So it's a product of how well your business is doing. And that's another realm. Sometimes people don't have the money up front, even if it's only $500 for an application fee to process an NMSDC. So they go with the MBE first, then they land a contract and use that as, capital to fund their NMSDC application. So, each one of you knows your situation better than I do. It's just a matter of, providing you guys with all the information. Market analysis of service codes is a huge one. For example, you've heard me say a couple of times that the DBE, the disadvantaged business enterprise, is huge for construction. And that's not to say that construction is not good for corporate markets, right? Maybe they're building a bunch of brand new chains in multiple states. It's still possible, but the number one money maker for construction, engineering, architecture, those kinds of things will be the DBE. Same thing for this, right? If I'm in retail, investment, banking, travel, anything like that, I want to go for my NMSDC. If I'm in construction, haulaway, and I can help out with state level projects, well, then maybe the MBE is better, right? So really it's about understanding the current market available in your state. And this one's a little bit tricky because the market in Idaho might be completely different than the market in Washington State, which is going to be different than Texas, which is different than Louisiana or Vermont, right? So it's really important to understand before you choose the certification, is there even an efficacy or a need for the skill set that my business is providing? Clarification and communication regarding the contract is huge. A lot of these times they'll post the contract and they'll have a point of contact for the person who knows everything about the specific contract. So as you're going and looking at these contracts that are currently available in your states and in your field, in your sector, you can always call these people who are sponsoring the contract and say, hey, can you tell me exactly, is this for MBE businesses or for NMSDC businesses or both? And when they tell you that, you can start collecting data and seeing, okay, I've called 10 people and there's 8 NMSDCs and only 2 MBEs. I'm going to go get my NMSDC. Or vice versa, there's only 8 MBE contracts out of the 10 that I called. So I'm going to get my MBE and then the NMSDC will be 2. So I think it's just important to identify all of these 5 pillars to make sure you're getting the best certification process. Absolute worst case scenario, you could always do both and give yourself horizontal scaling, multiple revenue streams. So that way, if one of them isn't really hitting the way you want it to, well, then you can always go back and use the other one and vice versa. So hopefully this all helps. Just wanted to kind of overview these certifications. As usual, you guys can contact me anytime. There's my phone number and my email. We handle all of these, questions all the time, and help these business owners make distinctions. And we're just really trying to get information out about what we do so that way you guys can make the best decisions possible. At the end of the day, you're going to have options to get a lot of certifications. And really what this becomes a conversation of is, not wasting your energy, not wasting your time, and not wasting your money. So if there's a way that we can help you guys, hopefully you learned something. If you do have any additional questions about your business specifically, because of course there's going to be questions, right? A construction company doesn't behave the same way as a manufacturing business, as a retail, as maybe some of you are restaurants and caterers. Each business is going to have its own distinct obstacles. So there's my contact information if you guys ever have any questions on anything. But hopefully this video helped. I tried to keep it pretty short so it's an easy watch. But yeah, contact us, Matt Day, COO at BizCentral USA. And we're looking forward to speaking with you. Good luck for those of you who are getting certified. Thanks.